Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. Today we are in the epilogue of the final play, which is titled Is Della? The Silver King's War is a podcast series based on my father, Stanley Silverfield, and his writing throughout World War II. He was in the Air Corps from January of 1943 to October of 1945, and he wrote hundreds of letters with the titles Dearest Ones. The first three plays in this series about his war include The Silver King, Marauder Men, and Serviceman. Each is fiction, but based on true events and his writings. The titles derive from first Stanley's war moniker as the Silver King because he won extensively in gambling with his buds, to the aviators who flew the B-26 were known as the Marauder Men, and finally, Serviceman is derived from the title of the Temple Emmanuel Congregation newsletter from Birmingham, Alabama, that was printed during the Second World War. The chronology, primary characters, places, and names are often quite real in these first three plays. The fourth play creates a fictional post-war life for my father, and many of the names and characters are real, but their roles and what happened and how they pursued things are fictional. The scenes became an imaginative approach for me to tell Della Martin's story with the support from the Silver King. And I connected these characters through Della's brother, Glenn, and Glenn's connection to Stanley in an imagined life during and after World War II. Who is Della begins in a downtown Baltimore law office during December 1955 after Glenn Martin's death. The scene is a meeting between Frank Ober Jr., who is Martin's lawyer, and Stanley Silverfield, who is Glenn Martin's personal representative. Act 1 of Who is Della, titled A Prominent Patient, follows the work of professionals to help Della Martin regain her life. Act 2, entitled I Am Della, follows Della after her return to private life. I began to build the Silver King's War in 2012 after a visit with my mother, Shirley, during October of 2011 in Rockford, Illinois. We were discussing family history, and she asked me if I was ready for the King's Archive, and I said, "You bet." So we packed it and shipped it to Portland, where I live with my wife, Kelly. I've spent a decade writing, researching, traveling, interviewing experts and veterans about the European Air War. I've read extensively about the war's industrial giants with a particular focus on the development and history of the B-26. My visits to the Glenn L. Martin Museum in Middle River, Maryland, were wonderful discussions to explore the materials and the memories of historians about Glenn L. Martin and the work. As my research and writing came together, I thought more about the idea of The Silver King as a book. But as I built the story so thoroughly, it became clear to me that the way to make it all real was through the theater, which I love. The sequences, characters, all of the scenes gave me a way into my imagination and my father's view of the world. And I'm writing the plays as a way to remain active in the storylines, and everything became a work in progress so that I could come in every day and visit with these guys who I really grew to love. My love of these warriors gave me a real chance to work with them, and my work became an exploration of the personal lives of warriors in the world. The fourth play, Who is Della, is a wonderful collaboration with the renowned writer and poet Kelly Sievers. Together, we imagined a life for Della Martin and her connection to my dad, the Silver King, after the death of Della's brother, Glenn Martin. Our development of Who is Della became a deeply personal exploration of the recognition and treatment of mental illness during the mid-20th century. Della Martin's release from Patton State Hospital after 45 years became so meaningful to us as we searched to develop and tell her story. Today, the Della Martin Foundation is in its 5th decade as a true commitment to the community and the world in underwriting research to resolve and treat mental illness. I hope that you will enjoy Who is Della, and I sincerely appreciate your listening to the Silver King's War.